Now that we have clean finished the seam where the upper skirt and the lower skirt join to each other, we'll go ahead and press that seam allowance. And our sample that we're inspired by, that seam allowance is pressed down towards the lower skirt, so we'll follow that model. So I'm gonna move this along. It's a very long seam. So I'm gonna iron over here off camera a little bit, and then I'll pull the skirt towards the camera. Or move the iron towards the camera, I guess, is more like it. So because of the opposing curves, I kind of have to lift the skirt and iron kind of like inside of a canoe. Let me go adjust the other side because it's gonna fall off my ironing board. Actually, maybe I'll come at it from this side for a minute and then go back over and do the other side, or the middle. Really push that seam allowance and make sure that seam looks nice and flat. So I'm gonna kind of have to puff up the skirt and then carefully get in there with my iron and rearrange it. So the pinning worked out really well because my side seams are really well aligned, which is what we were going for. And I don't have any tucks or puckers in my seam. Everything's nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm just kind of using the friction of the fabric against my ironing board to make sure that my seam allowance is aiming in the correct direction inside there. And then I have my iron kind of lifted in the back, and I just have the point of the iron facing down. So I don't have the whole plate of my iron down on the skirt. I just have the tip of the iron in the seam because it's such an awkward angle when you're trying to get at this particular seam. I don't want to iron any wrinkles because of these opposing curves. So So again, making sure that my seam allowance is aiming in the correct direction, and I'm almost where I started, or where I left off when I was coming from the other side. There we go. Seam pressed.